Good Tuesday afternoon to you. 4 o'clock time for Sports for CLE. Thanks for joining us. Browns have a date in Denver against the Broncos Sunday, 4 o'clock. Kickoff a Players' Day off today. After yesterday's game, the Chiefs lost, so the Ravens at 8-3, the top seed right now in the AFC. Browns with 3-4 other teams at 7-3. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, talked about the Browns and how they should be viewed after that Steelers win.
I think you have to take the Browns very seriously.
Agreed.
Because if you don't, they'll beat you.
Agreed.
And when you look at the other teams right now in the AFC, they can beat any of those teams. Any of them. They can beat the Dolphins. They can beat the Chiefs. They can beat the Jaguars. They can beat the Texans.
They can beat the Ravens.
They can beat the Ravens, as we just saw last week. And for them to pivot from beating the Ravens, losing Deshaun Watson, and refocusing with the rookie quarterback and beating the Steelers, it really was amazing. And we got to get used to that. Remember, we went through the whole thing with we can't get used to the Bengals being good. I can't get used to looking at that uniform and associating it with good team. You better do it with the Browns. And I know a lot of you out there have been watching the Browns for a long time and you don't associate it with good team. Get used to it. Associate the Browns with good team.
Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. So, Mary Kay, I know you've addressed this in an article in your Hey Mary Kays. What's the ceiling for the Browns now, and can they still achieve all of the high goals and aspirations they had before the season?
I think they can, and I have to agree with exactly what Mike Florio said. I've been saying the same thing myself for a few weeks now. The Browns defense can get past any offense in the NFL, and I think that was illustrated last night when you saw that the Kansas City Chiefs are beatable if you have a really, really good defense. The Browns have that, and there is no team, there is no offense that they can't vanquish or solve this season. Now, of course, they're going to have to get good, clean quarterback play to accomplish their goals, and we'll have to see how that goes as they move forward here. But from a defensive standpoint, they have enough to get to the Super Bowl and win it.
Well, some tough news came out yesterday. Rodney McLeod is out for the season, put on injured list with a torn bicep. But he did put his stamp on this team. I know you wrote an article about that. We'll get that to in a minute. So Rodney McLeod on IR. They also released John Kelly from the practice squad, did the Browns. Along those lines, Indianapolis Colts today announced they have officially waived linebacker Shaquille Leonard. Now, we know Anthony Walker, Shaquille Leonard played together, played well, are tight. Do you think the Browns have any interest in a guy like Shaquille Leonard?
You know what? I still have to look into this a little bit. I have spent my day down at Town Hall for Feed the Need. I've got my Feed the Need T-shirt on, which you can't really see, but I have not had time to really dig into this yet, and and really figure out if there's anything there. But my feeling on these kinds of things are, if you think you are going to the Super Bowl and you have a legitimate chance and you see an opportunity to improve your team, go ahead and do it. And you know that I've been very vocal about that this whole entire season. If you have a chance to add a DeAndre Hopkins, go get him. If you have a chance to bring back Joshua Dobbs, by all means, do it. So I tend to be very aggressive when it comes to these kinds of things. So I would go ahead and do something like this. It can't hurt. It certainly can't hurt you, and it just might help you. So if I were the Browns, I would be all over it.
Yeah, I'm with you. You can never have enough good players, without question. So take a look at this. This from chart form from Pro Football Focus, future strength of schedule. And when we look at it, the x-axis, defensive strength of opponents, y-axis, offensive strength of opponents. So that quadrant that the Browns are in shows you that the opponents that they have, their defense isn't really, really strong, and their offense isn't really, really strong. In short, that's the quadrant you want to be in relative to the opponents that you have. Having said that, Mary Kay, it's the NFL. You still got to go out and beat teams, but it gives you a visual of what the remaining schedule is like relative to what they went through the first 10 games.
Well, they're going to have to prove that they can win some of these games on the road. They're going to have to go out and they're going to have to win tough on the road, beginning Sunday in Denver. I mean, the Broncos have won 4 straight games, and they've kind of picked themselves up off the mat after a slow start. Russell Wilson is playing very well. He's got 19 touchdown passes against only 4 interceptions. And that's not going to be the easy out that you may have thought it was when the schedule first came out. There are other games that, you would think would be relatively easy victories, but, maybe they will not be. So, we'll have to see how this goes. And again, they're going to have to get more than 13 points on offense. I mean, that's going to have to happen. But, that Texans game with CJ Stroud, the way that he's playing, that's not going to be easy. The Jaguars game, that's not going to be an easy game. So even though it seems like, they are on easy street the rest of the way, they really have to stay focused and make sure that they can go out there and continue winning like they have been.
So the other thing that occurred yesterday, the Browns added Joe Flacco initially to the practice squad. I know you wrote an article about it. What's it mean for the Browns to bring in Joe Flacco, and what was the thinking behind doing that?
Well, initially, as you mentioned, he comes in on the practice squad, but I think he'll be called up for the Broncos game and serve as the number 2 quarterback behind Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Now, the thinking behind it is not only are you bringing in someone who can really help be a mentor to Dorian Thompson-Robinson, because Deshaun Watson is leaving the team this week, probably has already left the team this week to go have his surgery in LA. And then in a perfect world, they really don't want him flying around in the early going. They don't want, because of swelling and all that kind of stuff, they would really like him to sort of stay stationary for a while in Los Angeles. Now, the good part about that is the Browns are going out to Los Angeles, so he still will be able to be part of the team and help DTR. But they felt that they needed someone, that veteran presence in the room. Does it mean that he's not going to see the field? No, it doesn't mean that at all. If Dorian Thompson-Robinson starts to play mistake-filled football, then they will try something else. And I think they felt like they needed an upgrade over PJ Walker. Now they feel like they have that.
Yeah, and again, keep in mind, Joe Flacco is a guy that not only won a Super Bowl, but was the MVP of the Super Bowl that the Ravens won with him as a quarterback.
Oh, my God. You know what? He has 99 victories to his credit. He has an 18-3 record against the Cleveland Browns. One of those victories, as I know you remember very well, we all do, was that unbelievable comeback last year in week 2 when he was playing for the Jets. And in the final 82 seconds of the game, he threw 2 touchdown passes. They recovered the onside kick, so he got another shot at it. One of those was a 66-yarder. It was a colossal meltdown by the Cleveland Browns. Great job by Joe Flacco. And it was a sign that the 2022 Cleveland Browns were not what they thought they were going to be. And it was just unfortunate to discover very early on that they had cultural issues on their defense, that they had some finger pointing issues, that they were not all on the same page, and that it might not be the season everyone thought it was going to be.
So this is from NFL.com. One thing that every NFL team has to be thankful for the Browns, they say the hiring of Jim Schwartz. If the Browns have any chance of overcoming the season-ending shoulder injury to Deshaun Watson, it will come on the shoulders of defense that has turned dominant under the tutelage of Jim Schwartz this season. Mary Kay, it's hard to argue with any of that.
Yeah, you cannot argue with that, and that's why I still think, nobody laughs at me now when I say they still have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. I believe it. I believe they can. I've seen other defenses in the NFL, including the Philadelphia Eagles in 2017, win a Super Bowl when their quarterback goes down, and you do it on the strength of your defense. And they have it. I mean, they've got it going on. They just have to keep it rolling along. They showed a little bit of a crack in the run defense last week when they gave up a 74-yard run to Jaylen Warren. So, they've got to get that figured out because, teams are going to try to run the ball on them as we move forward here. But, for the most part, this is a championship defense, and they're ready to lead this football team.
Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, we'll talk a little bit about Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Sports4CLE will be right back talking Browns. Stay with us.
An Ohio lottery machine. The holiday scratch-offs are worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Non-winning tickets have a second chance.
Is that Miriam Bright? The first ever $30 holiday game! Hello? You can get them now? I'm gonna go ask if I can play.
We continue talking Browns with Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. James Palmer from the NFL Network, this is from the NFL Report, talked about the performance of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the rookie, against the Steelers.
Pick a rookie quarterback in an AFC North battle against one of the better defenses in football, against a Steelers team that has won 9 consecutive one-score games, a franchise record, and knows heading into this game that this is a playoff team. They are 5th in the AFC right now. All he has to do is win games and not essentially, I'll say it, Steve, pee down his own leg. And what did we see Dorian Thompson-Robinson do? He thrived at the end of that game. And I'm not going to look at the minute 16 drive that they had. He was brilliant at it, though. He was in control. Yep. He was in command. It's the same thing you heard Joel Bitonio say at the top of the show. Welcome to the NFL Report. He said on our show that he was in command from the first snap on that Wednesday practice when he was named the starter. It is those closing seconds after, with 20 seconds, they run Kareem Hunt up the middle with no timeouts, that really stood up to me, because DTR looks around, he even picks up Kareem Hunt, puts him in his place behind him at the quarterback spot, looks right, looks left, makes sure everybody's set, and spikes the football. To be in complete command in those seconds with no timeouts, to spike the football and get that game-winning field goal, to me, he didn't play perfect, but right down the stretch when they needed him, he was calm, he was in control, and once again, this defense was great. I love what DTR went out and did, and he earned himself another start, even though they signed Joe Flacco to be the starting quarterback for the Browns.
Merrick, I don't know that they signed Joe Flacco to be the starter there, but to his point, late in the game when plays need to be made, Dorian Thompson-Robinson made plays, and that shows growth from the first time he went out against the Ravens.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty incredible what he was able to do. And I am going to give a little bit of credit to Deshaun Watson for helping to get to that point, because Dorian Thompson-Robinson admitted to us in his post-game press conference that when he threw the interception in the third quarter, that he was just about to lose it. His body language was bad. He was hanging his head. He could not believe that he did the thing they kept asking him not to do, and that is throw an interception. And Deshaun Watson was the one that went over, and he picked up the rookie. He picked the chin up off the ground, and he got the rookie's head back on straight, and it enabled DTR to go out and engineer that game-winning field goal drive. That's the importance of having a veteran presence in your locker room, on your football team, at every position, but certainly at the quarterback position, and one of the main reasons why Joe Flacco is here now.
All right, so I know this is from your Hey Mary Kay. We've gotten some voicemails about it as well. So if the Browns end up making a playoff run with DTR at the helm, how do they handle the quarterback situation moving forward?
You know what? Deshaun Watson is their starting quarterback. Make no mistake about it. It really doesn't matter what DTR does the rest of the way. They have a starting quarterback that they have paid $230 million fully guaranteed to. That works out to $46 million a year. We are now in the midst of year 2 of that big old contract, and year 2 is basically kind of a wash for him in the second way, in the way that year 1 was a bit of a wash with 11 games on that suspension. Now, he did go 5-1 this season, so he contributed to what's going on now in a very big way. But still, when you move forward, you're not going to throw another $46 million out the window, and he will be their starting quarterback when he comes back from the shoulder injury.
And if you look around the NFL, you better have 2 quarterbacks that can win for you. So Dorian Thompson-Robinson can carve himself a nice niche with the way he plays down the stretch here as well. This is really interesting, and I found this really surprising. So opponents are outscoring the Browns in the first quarter 69-33, but from there, In the second quarter, 87-36, the Browns have outscored their opponents. 48-27 in the third, 59-48 in the fourth, plus 47-point differential, which is the largest since they came back in 1999, and only the third time in the expansion era they've been on the plus side of that. And again, the first quarter, they're falling behind. That makes it even more impressive, I think.
Yeah, it really does. But, when I see some of those numbers, there are some things that come to my mind. And I know, not that I want to throw water on the, on the party that's going on here, but I think here are some good reasons that the Browns are going to need to keep their foot on that gas pedal. And that is because, they've gotten a few minor breaks in this first part of the season. And here are some of the breaks that I'm talking about. They got Joe Burrow when he was not ready to play yet. I mean, he was absolutely not ready to play. Had they gotten Joe Burrow mid-season, it probably would have been a different game than the one that he played in the opener. Then you move forward to the Arizona Cardinals game, and if they had played them 1 week later, they would have gotten a Kyler Murray who looked pretty good in his first game back from a torn ACL. Instead, they got a rookie who was in completely over his head in Clayton Tune. It was the same kind of performance that Dorian Thompson-Robinson had in his first game with the Cleveland Browns against the Baltimore Ravens. So they got a break there. They've had other sort of, mini breaks. They got San Francisco had a rookie kicker that, lined up for the game-winning field goal and missed a 41-yarder. So, these are some ways in which, the Browns have also built their 7-3 record. It hasn't all been, they're not out there dominating every game. I mean, it takes until the last play half the time in order for them to, to win the football game. So they've got to, they can't rest on their laurels is what I'm trying to say. They've really got to, make sure that they don't read their press clippings and think that they are completely unbeatable, even on defense. They've got to understand that, they have to continue to do it, and they're going to have some better quarterbacks along the way.
All right, so this is from Pro Football Focus. Touchdowns for the season. Cowboys cornerback Deron Bland has 4. Falcons and Giants wide receivers all combined have 4. The Jets and Browns wide receivers combined have 3. So the wide receivers on the Browns roster now have 95 receptions in 10 games. I know you've also had this asked of you and a Hey Mary Kay. Other than Amari Cooper, they haven't got consistent play. How do you think how do they address that? What can they do about it? I know 3 different starting quarterbacks doesn't help, but they have to find a way to get more production out of those guys, don't they?
Yeah, and they will. They will as they move along. I think Elijah Moore will continue to get more and more involved. I think the same thing with Cedric Tillman. So I think it will get better. In this particular game, they were not going to let DTR lose the game for them on turnovers. So they were very conservative with his arm, and they were very conservative with his legs. They didn't let him run. They didn't want TJ Watt chasing after him and sacking him and stripping him. So they were very, very conservative in that regard. But he's more of a playmaker than he's been able to show yet. I think he will get the ball into the hands of Elijah Moore. Now, Elijah had a touchdown, so he is going to he broke the jam, the log jam. And, maybe he will have an opportunity now to get in there a little bit more. He's got one of those 3 touchdown catches by a Browns receiver. Amari Cooper has the other 2. So I think that they can mine that area a lot, and also more Cedric Tillman. And David Njoku, I mean, he better stay on that jugs machine, because he was right. That was an unacceptable performance. And, you really need to be supporting your rookie quarterback a whole lot better than that.
All right, so this also from Pro Football Focus, kind of interesting. It's field goal contribution. X-axis is the total points gained on field goals. Y-axis, total points gained on opposing field goals. And you see the Browns up in the upper corner and off to the right, the far of both of them. So basically what it's telling you is they're playing a lot of field goal games, which is not a surprise. I think when you have a really good defense, that kind of lends itself to playing the field goal game like Kevin Stefanski is.
Yeah, you know what? I think that if not for Dustin Hopkins and the amazing job he's done this season, they certainly would not be 7-3. There's no question in my mind that they would not be 7-3 without his amazing performance this season. I don't know exactly what it would be, but I would say 2 or 3 victories happened just because you had Dustin Hopkins doing such an amazing job, along with your defense and other things. But if he hadn't been able to stand up there and boot a bunch of 50-yarders and boot the game winners, even in the last 2 weeks, this is not happening. Totally different season. And it's so funny when you think about it, because when it keeps coming down to the last play of the game like that, the perception of everybody changes. I mean, we're talking about, Kevin Stefanski having, contract extensions now and stuff like that. Well, I mean, if Dustin Hopkins steps up there and misses a couple of those kicks, then all of a sudden, nobody can call plays, and, what's wrong with the scheme and what's wrong with these people. And, it's been such a small margin of victory this year that, so many of these games could have gone the other way.
Winning cures a whole lot, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It does. I mean, it's amazing because, each of these last 2 games, and there have been a number of games this season where you're just like, did they just do that? Did they just pull that off? And, some things are going their way and they're making them go their way. And it's been so much fun for fans, and I'm happy for them.
Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. On the other side of the break, we'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, talk a little bit about some people that might be in the Coach of the Year discussion. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE with Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
So I just wanted to talk about, it seems like the media blackout on the Cleveland Browns doing good this year, specifically Colin Cowherd. They won't even acknowledge that the Cleveland Browns are the 5 seed right now in the AFC. I just want to say how frustrating it is, and they're going to either start to acknowledge us or we're just going to have to make them acknowledge us. Go Browns.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Mary Kay, I wouldn't get too worked up about that. If the Browns keep winning, you just make the people that don't acknowledge them look silly.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to have to climb on board soon enough. Now, they have to keep it going, of course. I mean, it is a really, really tight race everywhere, and especially right here in the AFC North. My goodness. Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns, it's going to be quite the photo finish, I think. And the Browns have the much easier schedule the rest of the way. So I think that, as long as they can get good, clean quarterback play, they have an opportunity to go out and win the AFC North. Can you imagine that? Without their starting quarterback, without their starting right tackle, without their starting running back, all multiple Pro Bowlers. So, it's going to be an amazing ride the rest of the way. But again, they just have to go out and continue what they're doing. And the next thing is to beat Denver, who have won 4 straight games.
So Rich Eisen from the NFL Network talking about how he identifies coaches who are worthy of Coach of the Year. This is from the Rich Eisen Show.
You're looking for, again, a team that's performing better than expected going into the season and then based on what you're seeing in the season, right? You also want somebody who can somehow adapt in season. and also make the changes in the non-playing season that comes home to roost in the regular season. You also want somebody who's winning in tough places, whose team is winning in spots. You also want somebody who the adversity in season are, say, multiple starting quarterbacks. And you also lose arguably your best offensive player. I'm talking about Kevin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns.
Interesting.
A former coach of the year. Why not? Okay, so Deshaun Watson's your starter, and then he goes down. Last second, you start your rookie in Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He gets smoked by the Baltimore Ravens. And then you go to P.J. Walker. So you are one of 5 teams at present who has started 3 different starting quarterbacks this year. Of those 5 teams, only 2 have gotten wins from all 3 of their starting quarterbacks. The Giants are the other.
And the Giants aren't 7-3 and challenging for the number 1 seed. So there's a lot of, if you look at it and you look logically at what the Browns have had to overcome, Kevin Stefanski's done a heck of a job.
Sure. I mean, he deserves consideration as well as any other coach in the NFL. And one of the best things that he did this year was hire Jim Schwartz. So you have to give a coach credit for even those kinds of things, not just the X's and O's on game day, but the culture they instill on a football team and the staff that they hire. And he's done a tremendous job with those things. They recognized that they needed to make some tough changes. He did that. Bubba's been great for this team on special teams. Jim Schwartz has been amazing for this team on defense. And then they added a lot of really good players on defense that were the kind of guys that you need to come in here and show leadership and energy and fire. It's been a recipe for success, and Kevin is in charge of it all and doing a great job.
All right, so this from one of your Hey Mary Kays. What do you think the best trade Andrew Berry has made as GM is?
Well, I think the jury is still out because, the truth of the matter is, you kind of have to look at what's going to happen down the road with Deshaun Watson. So that one, we don't know the answer to that one yet. So far, it's tied for, I think it's Amari Cooper right now. I think it's got to be Amari Cooper. Because, he's just been amazing for this football team. And once again, they wouldn't be 7-3 right now if not for Amari Cooper, who, just goes out and, wins the contested catch, is the route runner, one of the best we've ever seen. And, he answers the bell week after week after week, regardless of who's at quarterback. And I'll tell you what, I mean, some of those drop passes, I think, come when, you're changing up quarterbacks and they're not ready for the different ball that's coming in. Doesn't matter to Amari. He always says this, that it's his job to catch the ball regardless of who's at quarterback. And he's gone out there on the field and he's proven that. So Amari for a 5th-round pick from the Dallas Cowboys, that's a hands-down winner in my opinion. But, I mean, Dustin Hopkins is definitely 1A.
All right, so you alluded to this, the Broncos. So that's the matchup that's coming up Sunday. Take a look at Russell Wilson's stats this season. They're actually pretty good. Completing just under 70% of his passes, has thrown for over 2,000 yards, 19 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, passer rating 104.3. Also has 232 rushing yards for the season. And when you think about it, he's not as mobile as he was, but he's still a mobile quarterback. And those have given this defense some concern this season, this really good defense.
Yeah, he's playing really well. And once again, when you win 4 straight games and 5 of your last 7 against some good football teams, including the Kansas City Chiefs in there and the Bills, then I think you can hang your hat on that a little bit. It's not like this 4-game winning streak came against the, little Sisters of the Poor or something. I mean, these are some good football teams that they have beaten. And I think that's significant. So the Browns can't take anything for granted. It's always hard to win in Denver. It's a long road trip. They're going to have, the noise going against them. That's something that DTR is going to have to be able to handle. I mean, he's handled a lot. He started 48 games at UCLA, but there's just going to be, a different level of speed in this game. Sean Payton is a very experienced coach, knows how to attack a rookie. And, and they're going to try to make life very difficult on him. And if they are able to stop the run, maybe even, a little bit better than the Steelers did and force him to throw the ball, then you're looking at a little bit more of a challenging football game. But, they're going to go out there very confident, feeling that they can shut down Russell Wilson just like they have almost every other quarterback this whole entire season. So it's going to be a great matchup.
What do you expect? Do you expect a similar ask of DTR relative to the game plan? And when you look at the Broncos, not a lot of people realize Broncos are taking the ball away almost as much as the Steelers. They're pretty much tied for second most takeaways in the NFL. That's a defense that turns the ball over.
Yeah, they're going to have to be careful. And that's why the game plan was so conservative. And, that's why he wasn't, throwing the ball downfield as much as the Browns usually like to do. So once again, they might go with more of a conservative game plan again. But, you don't always catch lightning in a bottle twice. And it's going to take more than 13 points this time, I think, to win the football game. Although you've got a great defense, maybe they will hold them to 10 points again. You never know. But I think you have to go in there counting on trying to score a few more than 13 points and, trying to start fast and get out of there with a victory, maybe somewhere in the 20s.
Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. As always, thanks so much for the time and the insight. Appreciate it very much, Mary Kay.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Mary Kay Cabot, make sure you check her out. Pages of the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. Always top-notch Browns coverage. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. We continue talking Browns. Casey Kinnamon from Dogtown Daily Network 216 straight ahead. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
An Ohio lottery machine. The holiday scratch-offs are worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Non-winning tickets have a second chance.
Is that Marion Bright? The first ever $1 million holiday game! Hello? You can get them now? I'm gonna go ask if I can play.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns on Sports for CLE. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
I appreciate you taking my call. Just a funny observation. Was watching the PTF show, and I remember when Kenny Pickett's helmet came off and kind of scrolled over to Miles Garrett. So their young lineman came up to Miles and said, if anyone shouldn't have their helmet issue. I guess he remember that helmet click that Miles did, but it was just juvenile conversation that, was fun. And just it, go Browns, Thanks for taking my call.
They were Kenny Pickett had his helmet knocked off, and you see Miles kind of goes and gives it back to the offensive lineman. Of course, Miles swung a Steelers helmet at a different quarterback, Mason Rudolph. Let's welcome in Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily, Network 216. Casey, I did not see that in real time and chuckled when I happened to see it on social media after the fact.
Yeah, like what are the chances the Steelers quarterback helmet comes off and winds up in Miles' hands? I think it's cool, though, that enough time has passed since that Thursday night in 2019 to where something like that could happen, and they kind of both got a laugh out of it, I doubt Mason Rudolph was chuckling on the sidelines, but that's another story.
Yeah, the other thing is, a couple of years ago, they changed the rule. Play should have been whistled dead immediately when his helmet came off. So it's one of those, you can't go back and revisit it, but that probably would have negated the first down that he got on that play.
100%. Yeah, if they blow that dead where his helmet comes off, it's the Browns' ball right there. That was a huge play. I think they instituted that rule in 2010.
Yep.
And I wonder if the Browns got a letter to why it was not enforced on Sunday.
Probably because they didn't see it because he was in the middle of the pile, but I'm with you. All right, Chris Sims from Pro Football Talk on his reaction to what the Browns are after they beat the Steelers.
You should take the Browns seriously. They're, as we've discussed a lot, extremely talented across the board. It's one of the best O-lines in the game. We've talked, Njoku's a really damn good tight end. The receivers are good. The running backs are good. Bill Callahan, the offensive line coach, is one of the best in football. The defense with Schwartz and what he's doing on that side of the ball. The front seven's as good as anybody in football. And the secondary, in my opinion, especially the corners, might be the best in football. They put a ton of pressure on you. I always bring up, they remind me of the 2015 Broncos in a lot of ways. Offense is kind of but the defense is going to make plays, hit you, cause some turnovers. They didn't cause any turnovers yesterday, but to what you said, it was smothering of the Pittsburgh Steelers on offense in every facet except for 3 plays the whole game. It was a run by Jaylen Warren, another run by Jaylen Warren, and I think a screen pass to Jaylen Warren.
Third and long.
Where the whole game was all Pittsburgh did on the offensive side of the ball. We know the Pittsburgh offense isn't great, but it had been better as of late. And that certainly didn't happen yesterday. And the Steelers took a page out of the Browns took a page out of the Steelers playbook. Hang in there, hit, physical, long drives, right? Chew up some clock. Game gets, down towards the end. Can we be clutch and go down and win the football game? And we've seen them do that a few times this year.
And Casey, he did a really good job of pointing out there were 3 plays that accounted for the majority of their yards gained.
Yeah, if you were to, you can't take those plays away, but if you did, you're looking at another Arizona-type game where they barely move the ball. They wouldn't get near the amount of first downs. Thank God the Steelers don't play Warren the way they should, because that dude is a problem. I also think it's funny to hear Sims come around. His tune a month ago was the exact opposite of what he just said, but he made some very good points. This defense does remind you a lot of that 2015 Broncos squad. And if the offense can just do enough, this team could play deep into January.
So ranking the AFC teams fighting for wild card spots. This is from CBSSports.com. I'd argue the Browns are playing for the AFC North, but we'll go with it. Number 1, they have the Texans. Number 2, the Browns. Number 3, the Bills. And number 4, the Steelers. Cleveland held Pittsburgh to 19.2 yards per drive. 19.2 yards per drive, on a pace to allow the fewest yards per drive, 18.8, of any team since the 1991 Eagles. It's also worth mentioning Browns are an NFL best 4-0 this season, games decided by 3 points or fewer. A lot of things have to go right to win close games. There's a little bit of luck, but you have to have really good special teams play and you have to have really good defensive play, and the Browns are getting that.
In spades, they have that covered. And that 1991 Eagles team, if people remember, that was super talented. That was, it was Reggie White and Eric Allen and Clyde Simmons and Jerome Brown. That was a very stacked team. So that's what we're seeing is week over week, the Browns defense keeps doing historical things, and I don't think there's any reason to believe that's going to change week in and week out. As long as they put that kind of performance on the field, they're going to keep getting the job done.
Well, when you just sit and think about this for a minute, they're allowing less than 2 first downs, 18.8 yards. That means you're not getting 2 first downs. And that's, keep in mind, they've given up some chunk plays. The 74-yard touchdown run by Warren, the 71-yard touchdown pass to Pickens, or come to mind just in the Steelers games alone.
Yeah, and that's been their Achilles heel. They've given up the occasional chunk play. But outside of that, it is tough sledding for any team between the 20s. It's get your punt team ready. That's all you need to know is before long you're going to have your punt team out there. And that's their only shots hitting these chunk plays. So as the Browns keep shoring things up, they're going to keep plugging those leaks and just make it hard down to down for teams to move the ball.
All right, found this kind of interesting as well. Defensive Player of the Year favorites, this from BetMGM. Myles Garrett is the favorite right now at plus 120. Micah Parsons plus 180, TJ Watt plus 275. So Garrett starting to open up that lead as the favorite. And if you keep winning and the defense keeps on leading the way, he could sneak into the conversation for even MVP, I believe, this year, because it isn't like there is not a quarterback who is really going crazy and lighting it up.
Yeah, and it's just he's been this dominant for years. It's just now the Browns are starting to win, and since the Browns don't have Nick Chubb, they don't have Deshaun Watson, Myles Garrett is the face of this team, so he's going to get associated with those wins. So for the dominant play he's had for the last 4 years, he's getting credit for that now because the Browns are winning. So you're just going to keep seeing him pull away from the pack as long as the Browns can keep stacking wins. And I expect him to be the runaway winner by the end of the year. And like you said, probably get a vote or two for MVP.
All right, so Brian Baldinger, former offensive lineman in the NFL, we always like this. He's going to analyze Wyatt Teller against the Steelers.
2nd and 3 with 20 seconds to go in the game. That's the rookie, Keanu Benton. He's not done. He's just getting started. What do you do for an encore? You do somersaults on the field in Cleveland when you have a chance to go with the game-winning drive on the line, and you get to do this. You get to take a rookie defensive tackle and drive him, drill him. They're going to line up and spike the ball, but that right there, my friends, is like winning the Academy Award.
Looked like a blocking sled. He was moving him back.
I mean, my favorite segment every week's Baldy's Browns breakdowns. You love to see it. And, man, Wyatt, he gives you the highest effort. I dare you to find another offensive lineman in the league that gives you the effort that Wyatt Teller puts in and week out. You know, and it's so much effort that it even makes up for mistakes because he just puts that extra in, you know, like just that somersault at the end. That's more than most offensive linemen would be willing to do on any given play. That's how he finished the play.
And the other thing is I think we've answered the question. A lot of what was going on last year was that calf muscle. So it's really good to see Wyatt Teller back to pushing guys around.
Yeah, since the bye week, he's really come around. Like he had a slow start to the season, but since the bye, the offensive line as a whole, but Wyatt Teller's, he kind of embodies that the way he's been playing these last 4 weeks. It's been incredible, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up with another Pro Bowl nomination.
Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily, Network 216 and I can step aside, take a quick timeout, other side of the break, talk a little bit about DTR and a little bit more about that Browns offensive line. Sports4CLE, I'll be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program is dedicated to recognizing exceptional students, teachers, and schools throughout Ohio. Scan the QR code on screen to nominate students and teachers as Academic All-Stars and Teachers of the Month. They must be currently enrolled or teach in grades K through 12. Is your K through 12 school developing students' literacy skills to achieve success in reading? If so, you can nominate your school for the School of the Year. Students can win $100, teachers can win $500, and schools can win $2,500. Scan the QR code, fill out the forms, and nominate deserving students, teachers, and schools today. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program takes pride in honoring exceptional students, teachers, and schools across Ohio. Submit your nomination today. It's fun, fast, and free. We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily and Network 216. Steve Weiss from the NFL Network on the NFL Report, talking about DTR's performance against the Steelers.
Ice in the veins down the stretch. The fact that Kevin Stefanski had the faith in him to make some of the throw calls he made, and he nailed them when he had to against one of the best defenses in the NFL. Let's not forget that. He was under duress, and the way he handled that to get them in position, this, of course, is bigger news because it endears trust. Trust his teammates in him, him in his teammates, knowing, like you said, this is a playoff team. They're going to feel much more comfortable with him now than they would have in week 2 when he came in late against the Ravens and, to use your phraseology, peed down his leg. This time he didn't. He woofed, gave the dog pound woof, and then that scene afterwards where the TV cameras caught him squatting down and bawling. It
was fantastic.
Like, I did it. Like, we did this as a team. We're doing this together. That absolutely meant everything.
Casey, I said it before, earlier today and yesterday as well. You know, the last drive, there's something to being able to do that, especially when things have not gone really well prior to that.
Yeah, if I were to describe his performance on Sunday, you would say uneven. You know, you started off okay, and then he kind of drew back. When they had that 10-0 lead, kind of drew back, and you could tell he just didn't want to lose the game. So if you watch the All-22, there were some things he passed up to do checkdowns and made the passing game horizontal. So he was playing not to lose. But at the end, he was playing to win, and that was all the difference. Him pushing the ball vertically on time and rhythm as soon as his back foot hit the ground. Ball came out, good placement, hitting his players in stride, like everything that you want to see. And he did it when he had to do it. Like when it mattered the most, he was at his best. And you just got to hope that's something that he can take upon and build upon as he goes forward in these next few games and just keep stacking it and getting more confidence and just kind of using that experience to kind of catapult him forward into these next remaining games.
Those are one of the things that you look at when you're looking at a quarterback. What does he do with the game on the line? And so we didn't see much of that in the Ravens game because that got away so quickly. But this one checked the box there. You know, that's a game-winning drive by, you know, a 5th-round draft pick in his second start in the NFL. That's impressive.
Big boy moments right there. You know, just to know that the pressure was that much and it didn't affect him. He looked unwavered. He knew what he had to do. He knew what the assignment was, and he checked all the boxes all the way down the field. 4 for 4. Got him into a position where they had to run to kind of set up Hopkins and then clock the ball with 5 seconds left. Operationally, it looked good. Like that last drive encapsulated everything that you want to see out of a quarterback. Now it's about stacking that and being more consistent throughout the game.
All right, this is a strange but true fact. The Browns have actually scored more points, 227, than the Chiefs, 225. I would never have guessed that in a million years. But it just goes to show you that right now the Ravens at 8-3 are a half game ahead of the Browns, Chiefs, Dolphins at 7-3. Don't say it's not possible.
I wouldn't have guessed it either, but that just shows me that the AFC's flawed. You know, it's wide open. Like going into this year, we thought there was going to be some juggernaut teams in the AFC, and it really hasn't played out like that. Everyone kind of has a weakness. Now, I think the Chiefs are kind of, they're handcuffed by their wide receivers. I don't think that Mahomes is really getting able to do what he can normally do, but that's their problem. The Browns have an opportunity here. You know, you're sitting at 7-3, and offensively, you have not played your best football. Defensively, top notch. But if this offense can just level up 1 or 2 notches, that AFC is wide open. They could very well represent the AFC in the Super Bowl at this rate.
All right, so this is the top 5 graded offensive players against the Steelers from Pro Football Focus. We talked about Wyatt Teller, a grade of almost 81. Harrison Bryant, you see DeJuan Jones, who less than 100%, still gutted it out, played well. Posich, the center, and then Elijah Moore. That offensive line played really well against a tough front. They had Cam Hayward back, so you got Hayward, Highsmith, and T.J. Watt. Not going to face too many tougher than that.
Yeah, from a pass protection perspective, they did really well. They did struggle in the run game in the second half. Pittsburgh figured some stuff out and kind of put the Browns in quicksand, but the effort was there. And you just got to trust that if they can keep playing with that kind of effort against lesser teams that don't have the kind of talent that the Steelers do, that they'll be able to enforce their running game. But yeah, I like seeing Elijah Moore get on that list. He's finally starting to come into his own in this offense. Just got to hope that him and DTR kind of mesh a little bit and give the Browns another dynamic weapon as well.
All right, so in the last 2 games, this is on Jeron Christian. He's allowed just 2 pressures and 1 sack, both against Baltimore. So 96 pass block snaps, not a single pressure allowed against the Steelers. Jeron Christian, a guy that, was out there on the street, put him on the practice squad. Now you don't hear him. And if you don't hear a left tackle, you can live with that for 17 games.
And it's crazy, too, because early in the season when Wills was struggling, we're like, well, who else are you going to play? They don't have anyone else. Just keep putting Wills out there. And then Wills actually picks his game up, unfortunately gets hurt, and the Browns literally just find a guy and plug and play. Now, it turns out that guy was with Callahan in Washington, and he was the contingency plan for if they lost Trent Williams, But, both those guys left. He fell out of favor, went to Houston. Now he's back in Callahan's hands, and it's cool to think you don't have to even think about left tackle right now. 2 games in, it's a decent enough sample size. That kid's not a problem. He's playing well. Just kind of let it be. And we can revisit this in 3 or 4 weeks whenever Wills is coming back from the IR.
Now, part of it is they're getting the ball out quick and they're not running. But you do what your offensive line allows you to do relative to the pass game.
Yeah, and Alex Highsmith is a tough day out for any left tackle. Like the fact that we didn't hear his name get called off on Sunday, that speaks well of Christian. He's manning up, taking the assignment, and so like you said, don't hear his name, don't have to think about him. We're not seeing blown assignments, we're not seeing lack of effort. A+ for me. Yeah,
and I'll just say, last time the Browns played the Steelers, Week 2, Alex Highsmith was the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. So big check mark and improvement on that. Case Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily Network 2 and 6, and I can step aside, take one more time out. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about the Browns-Broncos matchup Sunday at 4. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
An Ohio lottery machine. The holiday scratch-offs are worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Non-winning tickets have a second chance. Is that Miriam Bright? The first ever $1 million holiday game! No. You can get them now?
I'm gonna go ask if I can play.
We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily Network 216. Take a look at this note from NFL.com. Sunday marked the Browns' 3rd win of the season, in which their starting quarterback did not throw a touchdown pass. Most such wins in the NFL. Casey, you know what? Things like that could care less. They don't put an asterisk by it because there's no touchdown pass. It goes as your 7th win against 3 losses.
Yeah, it's one of those stats that sounds unsustainable until you realize what this defense is doing. It's like your quarterback just needs not to turn the ball over. You'll manufacture points however you manufacture points. I don't care how it happens. If it's a run, if it's a pass, quarterback can run for the touchdown, whatever. But what it comes down to is don't turn the ball over. Touchdown passes will come for DTR over time, but it's not something I'm presently worried about just given how this team is playing.
Well, the other thing is there's no need, if you get a lead or you're within a score, there's no need to, your best chance is probably to run the ball and run it out of big personnel. They're doing a nice job with that. Take a look at this. This is from ESPN, AFC playoff pictures projections. So the Browns' chances to make the playoffs, 83%. To win the division, 24%. To get a bye, 6%. And to make the Super Bowl, 3%. So they're starting to climb up the percentages as far as making the playoffs, winning the division, getting a home game, and then it's fun to mention Super Bowl with the Browns.
Yeah, I don't care how low that percentage is. You're telling me there's a chance. You're seeing their name on the board. But yeah, you're seeing, because they're winning the important games. They're winning their divisional games. They're winning conference games. So it's going to give them tiebreakers as it comes down to it if it gets close. So, this game against Denver is huge. Another team battling for a wild card spot. Another conference game. You stack yet another win. That percentage is just going to keep rising up.
So this is from the NFL on CBS. Best TD to interception ratio in the NFL this season. Number one is the guy the Browns are facing, Russell Wilson. 19 touchdowns, just 4 picks. Justin Herbert, 19 touchdowns, 5 picks. Kirk Cousins, out for the year. Brock Purdy, 18 TDs and 5. And then C.J. Stroud, the rookie the Browns are going to face in a couple of weeks, 17 touchdowns and 5 picks. Now, Dorian Thompson-Robinson has not thrown a touchdown, and he has thrown 4 interceptions, one of them in that game against the Steelers. It just goes to show you, we were talking about how much Russell Wilson has struggled. They've won 4 straight, and he's not struggling nearly as much right now.
Yeah, quietly putting together a pretty good season. He's got over 2,000 yards, like almost 225 yards rushing. Like he's doing a thing, and being efficient. You can tell from that stat right there, throwing over 4 touchdowns for every interception. And when it comes to DTR, I throw that Baltimore game out. Just for the Browns in general, it's the one outlier. If you look at all their results, that's the one that sticks out that's not like the others. Just take that game, throw that out. In my mind, DTR has got 1 interception and no touchdowns. That number is going to even itself out as over these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and again, he can't tell you how impressed that last drive was as well. All right, areas the Browns need to be concerned with the Broncos coming up. When you look at it, what do you go? Can't let this guy, can't let this happen. Where do the Browns look relative to that?
The first thing I start with is the environment. I mean, you're playing in a very difficult place to play, crazy elevation, but for a rookie getting his first start on the road, that's something that you got to get off to a fast start against a team like that and give them some confidence. You can't get behind in that game. Denver, 4 straight, and 3 of those 4 have been the Chiefs, Bills, and Vikings, all teams with winning records. They're scrappy. They find ways to win. They're very much like the team we just played. They are opportunistic. They'll give up a lot of yards, then cinch down and get a turnover and give the ball back to Russell, and he'll struggle all game except for in the fourth quarter. So it's kind of the same game script as the Steelers. Get up early on them and put some separation between you and them, so none of that fluke stuff at the end can affect you.
The other thing they have is Javonte Williams is a bigger back who, and some of the big backs with a little bit of burst have caused problems. Kenneth Walker, so he does that. The other guy that's Cortland Sutton, the old saying about Chris Carter, he just catches touchdowns. He's got something in the neighborhood of like 37 receptions and 7 or 8 touchdowns, and he is a big target with really good hands and feet.
Yeah, Russell loves to look for him when they get in that red zone. He's a huge target. And you just think back to that game in 2019 where he mossed Denzel Ward. That kid's had crazy skills. He just hadn't had a consistent career. Now that he's starting to build a rapport with Wilson, it's becoming more consistent. And he is a threat to score touchdowns. That is someone you got to keep an eye on. I wonder how they'll match up, though. I wonder if they'll put Emerson on him and put Ward on Judy. The Browns have the personnel. They can deal with a big body now because they have Emerson.
Yeah, I would absolutely do that. Try to be a little bit more physical with him and not let him get to where he wants to go. What about DTR? What do you do? I kind of like the big personnel that might, the defensive line of the Broncos is not what the defensive line of the Steelers is, but, newsflash, not many in the NFL are.
The first thing I look at is the Broncos have a poor run defense. They're dead last in the league. They give up 160 yards rushing per game. So first things first, establish your run game. Make the game easy for DTR. Give him 3rd and manageable. Keep him out of 3rd and long. Let's stay up with the sticks. Let's enforce the running game. You should be able to run all over this Broncos team. So that's got to be the emphasis this week, is dial in your running game and build everything else off of that. I think if they do that, DTR will be just fine.
Yeah, I would agree. And you run better out of the big personnel. It gives him some easier reads. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see more of that. Well, we are getting word that Deshaun Watson has had his surgery, and the Browns released a statement. Surgery to replace the displaced fracture in his right shoulder. deemed successful. Rehab process scheduled to begin Friday. Full recovery expected prior to the start of the 2024 season. Certainly good news, but Casey, they don't ever get done with surgery and say, man, we botched that one.
Yeah. Best wishes to him. Hope he heals up fine. But the Browns' focus has to be on them. He's out of sight, out of mind. He won't be on the sidelines, presumably, for at least a few weeks. So, thoughts and prayers to him. But the Browns have to be about this next game and put that out of their mind and worry about themselves.
It's certainly good news, and he is rehabbing out in L.A., so I'm sure they'll see him when they head that way. They go Denver, and then I think it's the Rams. So, Casey Kinnamon, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Casey.
Anytime, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Casey Kinnamon, make sure you check him out. Dog Pound Daily, Network 216, really good Browns coverage and insight as well. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4 on Sports for CLE.